For 300 years, the most powerful nations on earth grew richer and stronger on the profits of the slave trade. Over 12 million men, women and children were forcibly transported from Africa on slave ships like this to the colonies and plantations in North and South America. Today, slavery is illegal in every country on the planet. But the truth is, slavery did not die in the 19th century. It is alive, it is thriving, and it is bigger than ever. Throughout 350 years of the transatlantic slave trade, more than a third of the 12 million slaves transported from Africa were shipped to Brazil. 123 years ago, Brazil became the last country in the Americas to abolish slavery. 15 years ago, Brazil adopted an innovative program to eradicate modern slavery. Yet today, in one of the fastest rising global economies, up to 250,000 men and women are enslaved in Brazil.
É que na prática do trabalho escravo, na verdade, tem uma preconcepção que considera o outro como sub-humano.
Não, o barraco lá era uma casa de tábua, não tinha energia, não tinha freezer. Não tinha fogão, não tinha banheiro e não tinha água encanada.
Com trabalho de escravo, você na praia é tipo amarrado a tua perna. Você está amarrado num canto, você não pode sair.
Deep in the Brazilian rainforest, anti-slavery police mount a raid on a suspected slave farm. Acting on a tip-off, the mobile inspection team comes to a remote cattle ranch in the heart of one of the most lawless regions of Brazil. And one of the biggest strongholds of modern slavery.
Ok, pode vir. Bom dia. Seu nome é? É Sandra. Sandra, eu sou o Benedito, você é o gerente da fazenda? Sandra, é o seguinte, nós somos grupo de fiscalização lá de Brasília.
The state of Pará, the province of Pará, is the region where most of the cases were found. It is a very dangerous region. There has been recently 5 homicides involved regarding people who were fighting for the land. Even the mobile inspection units, they have had some surprises in which they had some shooting against the landowners and the units.
1, 2, 3, 4 redes, 5, 6. Tem 6 pessoas aqui dentro? Quem são as pessoas?
In 1995, Brazil adopted innovative laws to fight the problem of modern slavery. These define slavery in wide-ranging terms.
É perigo, né? Qualquer deles, né?
The slave labor, it can be by degrading conditions, can be by forced labor, can be by bondage. No? So there is 3 ways, and they can occur separately. And it's an adding of bad conditions that gives the whole condition of slave labor, no?
The team discovers 15 men who they determine are being held in conditions of slavery. Each of these men will now be paid for their work and freed from the farm. In the past 15 years, the mobile inspection teams have freed 40,000 men and women from slavery.
Tem quanto tempo você está fora? Tem quanto tempo você está fora?
5 meses.
Você não vê o pessoal lá?
É, 5 meses.
But they are the exposed tip of a massive iceberg. Nearly 2,000 kilometers from Brazil's capital, the state of Pará is still plagued by slavery. Here, the fragile ecosystem of the Amazon rainforest is rapidly being destroyed by illegal deforestation. And behind the deforestation, one of the dirtiest and most degrading forms of slavery, charcoal burning.
Dois crimes. Um é a devastação da floresta. E geralmente, onde há devastação, onde há o corte de madeira ilegal, há o trabalho escravo. As coisas, elas andam juntas. Desmatamento, trabalho escravo.
In April 2011, Brazil's slave-busting squad raided a charcoal farm in Guaianésia do Pará. The operation freed 11 slaves. We're traveling to Jacundá to meet 2 of those men and to find out how they came to be enslaved.
A gente começou mexendo, assim, por causa do... O carvão criou um alto valor, né? E até hoje mesmo o desemprego aqui dentro de Jacundá mesmo está difícil. Aí a gente tem que trabalhar para manter o dia a dia da gente. Ou pouco ou muito, o pouco que vir, seja bem-vindo. Se vier muito também, é bem-vindo, né?
Jai Pinto Lopez was a carbonizer at the charcoal farm. He loaded the ovens with wood and for months at a time breathed in the smoke-filled air.
Nós não tinha proteção de nada, nem máscara, nem calçado, nem a caneleira, nem capacete. O barraco lá era uma casa de tábua, não tinha energia, não tinha freezer, não tinha fogão, não tinha banheiro e não tinha água encanada. Vem muitos problemas na saúde.
José Augusto dos Santos was also enslaved at the charcoal farm.
A calvoaria é dos piores serviços para mim que existe, dos mais pesados. E teu dinheiro fica pesado quando tu pega dele, né? Que, como nós estávamos no mato, você entra no mato, né? Eu acho que a maioria sabe o que é mato. Entra no mato, cortava, tudo se relando de garranchos. Peguei 2 malarias consecutivas, inclusive voltei doente, né?
And did the employers give you any assistance, whether it was because of getting malaria or food or if someone else got sick? Did you have any help from the employers in the work?
Não. Nada. Só serviço.
For the people of Marabá, slave-busting raids like those which freed Jai Pinto Lopez and José Augusto dos Santos are too little, too late.
Hoje tem alguns fazendeiros, alguns produtores de carvão que sentem na pele, no bolso, a necessidade de mudar de atitude porque custa caro. Eles têm que pagar indenizações por danos morais. E isso vem reduzindo bastante o lucro que eles esperavam realizar. Mas, por outro lado, ninguém foi para a cadeia, ninguém teve a sua propriedade confiscada por motivo de trabalho escravo.
Frei Xavier Plassat is one of Brazil's leading anti-slavery campaigners. His work has won him powerful enemies.
E por impunidade generalizada. Então, que dá vazão à possibilidade de continuar violentando, ameaçando. Nós tivemos, de fato, inclusive nesse trabalho de denúncia do trabalho escravo, vários colegas, nós mesmos em tempos mais remotos, tivemos que enfrentar barra pesada, né? Porque estamos cutucando a onça com vara curta, como se diz.
In the months since they were freed, Jai Pinto Lopez and José Augustus dos Santos have heard that leopard growl.
Já surgiu boato aí na rua de ameaças, e nós, né, com nós. Segundo foi o patrão falou que ninguém ia se aproveitar do que nós recebemos. Ela pensa, dia assim de alguém mandar fazer algo comigo, entendeu?
Todo mundo pensa do jeito só, tem medo, né? Porque vocês sabem que a polícia vem aqui, faz uma coisa com a gente aqui, beneficia a gente, eles vão embora, a gente fica, né? Aí quem sempre acorda termina quebrando do lado mais fraco, né?
Jai and José have reason to be worried.
Esses grupos, esses produtores que estamos denunciando, são grandes produtores, não são pequena coisa. Os interesses em jogo são imensos.
Charcoal is big business in Brazil's booming economy. It's the vital ingredient in an industry which earns $2 billion a year. Every year, Brazil exports around 10 million tons of pig iron, a key ingredient in the worldwide production of steel, and charcoal is the first stage in that chain.
Que o carvão vegetal ele tem uma finalidade exclusiva aqui. Não é para fazer churrasco, não. É para fazer ferruguza. Essa ferruguza ela é a matéria-prima, por sua vez, do aço.
7 years ago, investigators working for local NGOs uncovered damning evidence of slavery in Brazilian charcoal farms, which were supplying the pig iron industry. In response, the government and industry established the National Pact to eradicate slave labor. Its aim was to encourage companies to monitor their working conditions at all stages of production. Simultaneously, 15 iron and steel companies set up the Charcoal Citizens Institute to investigate and monitor the industry's supply chains. But membership of the pact and the institute is voluntary, and since 2004, many pig iron companies have simply ignored both.
Mas não foi o suficiente. Não foi o suficiente, né? Nós estamos entendendo que as empresas não investiram o suficiente no Instituto, não aprimoraram a sua metodologia, de tal forma que o Instituto hoje não consegue monitorar a origem do carvão. De fato, elas não querem investir num aprimoramento, porque aprimorando a metodologia podem inibir ou podem diminuir o fornecimento de carvão ilegal e elas deixam de produzir.
The result? Slavery continues to infect charcoal production and the entire supply chain it feeds. This is the industrial zone on the outskirts of Marabá, where most of the pig iron factories are located. And according to the evidence that we've been given and the testimonies we've heard, one of these companies is allegedly still involved in buying illegally produced charcoal made by slave labor.
A Cosipar é uma siderúrgica instalada na região de Marabá. É uma empresa grande, é uma empresa que tem uma fabricação muito grande. A maior produção de ferro-gusa dessa empresa vai para os Estados Unidos, para os norte-americanos.
Cosipar produces 330,000 tons of pig iron every year, relying on charcoal to heat its furnaces. In the slave camps of the Amazon, it's an open secret where some of that charcoal comes from. And do you know to what companies or where the charcoal was going?
Que era o qual ele fornecia mais era para Cosipar, que sempre lá era melhor que pagava.
In 2010, Cosipar executives were photographed with the then Brazilian president, Lula. Yet the company has a lengthy record of using slave-tainted charcoal. In 2004, slave labor was discovered on Cosipar's own charcoal farm. In 2005, 15 slaves, including women and children, were freed from a charcoal farm whose only customer was Cozipar. The same year, Cozipar was fined 1 million Brazilian reals, more than $500,000, for purchasing charcoal from a camp holding slaves. In 2009, an indirect supplier of charcoal to Cozipar was discovered using slave labor. Cozipar was expelled from the Charcoal Citizens Institute because it had failed to pay the mandatory subscriptions to fund the anti-slavery effort.
Cozipar é famosa pelo trabalho escravo. Não compõe mais as empresas que lutam pela erradicação do trabalho escravo no Brasil.
When we went to Cozipar's head office in Pará State, we were not welcome.
Alguém autorizou vocês fazer esse tipo de filmagem? Pode falar com mais a não escutar. Se alguém autorizou, foi autorizado vocês fazer esse tipo de filmagem?
No, I just thought we were in a public area here.
Pode, é proibido. Não é permitido.
It's not allowed?
Não, é direção máxima.
We're from Al Jazeera television, and we're wondering if there's anyone we could interview about Cozipar's operations.
Não pode me traduzir, pode chegar assim e filmar sem autorização.
Cozipar's directors refused to talk to us then,
I mean, that in theory, that's possible.
and the company has subsequently ignored repeated requests to comment on allegations of slavery in its supply chain. So, where does Cozipar's slave-tainted pig iron go?
It's these trains that take the pig iron away from Pará up to the coast. From there, they're loaded onto ships, taken to Western industrialized countries in Europe, Japan, but especially to the United States.
Most of Cozipar's pig iron is sold through just one US broker, an Illinois-based company called National Material Trading. We have obtained US Customs documents for 2009 and 2010 showing that NMT has regularly imported shipments of pig iron from Cozipar.
Steel, aluminum, metals critical.
National Material Trading has been a long-time supplier of pig iron to major American steel producers. They, in turn, supply some of the most famous brands in the world. National Material Trading refused to respond to our questions about its purchase of slave-tainted pig iron from Cozipar, or to disclose the steel-producing middlemen to whom they sell it.
With multiple locations specializing in steel distribution and processing, National Material is one of the largest steel service center groups in the U.S.
But in recent years, Ford Cars, General Motors, and Whirlpool, one of the world's biggest manufacturers of washing machines, fridges, and microwave ovens, have acknowledged using steel which was made from NMT's pig iron. Today, Ford and General Motors say that NMT is not one of their direct Tier 1 suppliers, but that they couldn't comment on indirect or middlemen suppliers. Ford told us,
"The pig iron situation has been taken very seriously by the senior management team at Ford since 2006, when it was originally brought to our attention. We have asked all our suppliers that might use pig iron produced using charcoal from questionable sources to verify their supply chain. Validation continues to be challenging, given the number of supply chain actors between Ford and the charcoal camps in Brazil."
And General Motors said,
General Motors has a strict zero-tolerance policy against the use of child labor, abusive treatment of employees, or corrupt business practice in the supply of goods and services to General Motors.
The company's contracts require that a supplier
represents that neither it nor any of its subcontractors will utilize child, slave, prisoner, or any other form of forced or involuntary labor. We learned in 2006 that a direct supplier of General Motors may have been using materials purchased from NMT. At that time, we investigated immediately and took appropriate steps.
Whirlpool promised a statement but did not provide one.
Eu acho até que a Cosipar erra, mas erra muito mais que a Cosipar aquelas empresas que compram o aço. Então, quem é que tem mais condições de interromper esse ciclo pernicioso? São as grandes empresas. As empresas, a partir do momento que elas tomarem consciência do mal que elas estão causando à sociedade, ao ser humano, e elas deixarem de produzir aço com trabalho escravo, né, elas vão dar uma contribuição enorme, né, para a dignidade do ser humano, daquelas pessoas, aquelas milhares de pessoas que todo ano são libertadas no meio da floresta amazônica.
If you could talk to a family about to buy a car in the United States or Japan or Germany, and they didn't realize that it was being produced in a supply chain that involved slave labor, what would you say to a family?
Para não comprar, né?
So who is really committed to stopping slave-tainted charcoal contaminating the global marketplace? The Brazilian government prides itself on its commitment to end slave labor. Yet, how effective is that commitment? Carlos Lupi is the labor minister. Why do you think, despite all these efforts that Brazil has taken, why is it so hard to eradicate this?
Somente como o Brasil é um território muito grande, 8.513.000 km², essa prática acontece nos locais mais longínquos. O maior incidente de trabalho análogo do escravo no Brasil é no estado do Pará, que é um dos 3 maiores estados do Brasil. E muitas fazendas no interior, que você tem dificuldade de acesso. E os maiores fornecedores dessa mão de obra estão nos 2 estados fronteiriços, Maranhão e Piauí, por causa da falta de outros empregos, de outras oportunidades para essas pessoas. Que o Brasil combate isso com muito rigor, não esconde que existe. Nós estamos tendo coragem de enfrentar. Mas nós temos consciência que isso não tem resultado definitivo apenas para um governo.
Governments really have to come up with this resource to end slavery. They've promised to do so by passing laws that say we will not have slavery in our countries until the right mixture of politicians and the public and thought leaders and business leaders and media leaders, you name it, understand it and get the big picture. We can't raise those resources.
Ironically, the key to building that understanding may lie in one of the most ubiquitous, if least noticed by consumers, tools of modern business, the barcode.
One thing that I learned that was a bit of a shock to me was the link that I personally had to modern slavery every day when I walked into my favorite store. When I picked a product off the shelf, there was a story behind the barcode. There's a story behind that product. The question is, how would I know?
David Batstone founded the anti-slavery campaigning group Not for Sale. A key part of its mission is to empower consumers with information so they can join the fight against slave labor in the global supply chain.
So our team came up with 40 factors that go into the making of any product. Based on that, we began to grade products and companies. And using that material, first we took that data and gave a grade, A, B, C, D, F, like you would get when you were in school.
The result was an application for smartphones that enables consumers to check a product's slavery index whenever, wherever they go shopping.
The app is designed so that you can scan a barcode on a store shelf. The grade comes up, and then you can say, well, wonder why they got an A or wonder why they got an F. And you can click to see the scorecard. You can see the 40 factors, full transparency.
Transparency in supply chains is essential for ensuring that slave labor is not being used to make products that end up in consumers' homes. But ultimately, it is up to governments to enforce legislation and penalties. If they don't, then men like Jose and Hai will continue to be enslaved.
Enquanto a nossa justiça, a nossa autoridade não pegar para legalizar todo mundo, sempre vai existir. Sempre não vai se acabar tão fácil, né? Não acaba fácil, não.
Com o trabalho de escravo, você na praia é tipo amarrado a tua perna. Você está amarrado num canto, você não pode sair.
in the next episode of Slavery, a 21st Century Evil, women sold into bridal slavery in India, and the difficult investigation to track down their traffickers.